Welcome to chaomix. I love 2D Sonic games. Almost everything about them, the style, the music, the sense of speed, they all come together to create the unique experience that is Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, Sonic was born into this very world with 2D gameplay. It's a gameplay style we've gotten consistently throughout all these years, even to this day. It's the most consistent and arguably the definitive playstyle of Sonic the Hedgehog, one that I'd surely never want to go away. I do have to admit though, I don't tend to go back to the 2D games as often as the 3D ones. This is actually something I noticed a long time ago, but never really knew why at the time. There was just something about them that made me a lot less inclined to replay. I could never quite put my finger on it, but after going through all 4 original titles again with Sonic Origins, I think it finally hit me. The 2D games would have a perfect formula if it weren't for one glaring flaw. A flaw that might even subconsciously affect how you play the entire game. A flaw that could have and definitely should have been fixed by now, but for some reason hasn't. The time has come for me to explain my biggest gripe with 2D Sonic games. This video is made possible by today's sponsor, Magic Spoon. Some of my fondest childhood memories come from waking up early every Sunday morning and tape recording episodes of Sonic X while eating a big bowl of cereal. Man, what I wouldn't give to go back to the glory days. But now I'm old and have the cursed knowledge of knowing that traditional cereal is actually really bad for you. Seriously, all you have to do is take one look at the pure amount of sugar in the nutritional facts of any big name cereal brand. It ain't pretty. But that's where our sponsor Magic Spoon comes into play. Because one of the best features of Magic Spoon is that it's actually healthy. Magic Spoon cereals have 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. They're also keto-friendly, gluten-friendly, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. They do all this while also tasting amazing. For real, one spoonful and you'll be hit with a huge wave of nostalgia. Remembering all those cozy mornings as a kid watching your favorite cartoons with a bowl of cereal. I got the variety pack, so I got to try all sorts of flavors. There's cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, cookies and cream, maple waffle, blueberry muffin, and cinnamon roll. Plus the newly reformulated honey nut flavor, which was just added as a permanent member of the Magic Spoon flavor family. But if you had to ask me, I'd say my personal favorite is the frosted flavor. And now you can take Magic Spoon with you on the go with their new cereal bars, which come in cookies and cream and cocoa peanut butter flavors. Click the link in my description to grab a variety pack and try Magic Spoon out today. Use code chaomix5 at checkout or go to magicspoon.com/chaomix5 for $5 off any order. And Magic Spoon is so confident that you'll love their product that if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. And for all my Canadian and British fans, Magic Spoon is now shipping to you. So make sure to get yours today. Huge thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video, and with all that being said, let's continue with today's episode. 2D Sonic games usually are side-scrolling platformers. I'm sure we're all very familiar and have played plenty of these. Mario, Mega Man, Celeste, just to name a few. Sonic stands out from the crowd though because, Blue Rat go fast. Very cool. But this speed, combined with the 2D nature of a side-scroller, presents a problem unique to Sonic. And it's probably the #1 thing that deters people from the series. Let me know if this sounds familiar. You're playing a 2D Sonic game, building up speed, zooming through loop-de-loops, and before you even realize it, bam! You run face first into some big old thing, completely stopping you dead in your tracks. Like a small step or a wall, or worse, an enemy, a set of spikes, or even a bottomless pit. The issue is, due to Sonic's speed and the limited view of a side-scroller, after all you can only see so far ahead of you, it can be really hard to react to certain things because a lot of the time you can barely see them until it's already too late. This is my #1 gripe with the classic games. Now hear me out. I used to scoff at this exact type of criticism like I'm sure a lot of you are right now. Get good, you scrub. Obviously, right? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that there's kind of a good point to this argument. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that it might actually have some sort of underlying subconscious effect on how we play the game. And it's not exactly for the better. Let me break down what I mean by all this. Normally, this type of thing wouldn't be an issue in most other platformers. But because this is Sonic and we're going at Sonic speeds, every little obstacle has the potential to become an insane reaction test. And if you don't already know that they're coming, it can be really difficult to pass this test because it all happens so quickly. Not only is this frustrating, constantly being slowed down when trying your best to go fast, but what's more is that it creates this psychological effect that conditions you to think twice about going fast, whether you're aware of it or not. Going fast becomes scary because who knows what's going to jump out at you next. Think of it this way. It's like driving in a thick fog where you can only see a few yards in front of you. A sharp turn or an oncoming car could come out at any second, so you'll naturally want to slow down. Similarly, with a side scroller, especially one where you go as fast as a car, you can only see so far ahead of you, so it has a similar effect. Some obstacle or enemy could pop out at any point. Yeah, better think twice about going fast again, buddy. I'm not trying to say that these games shouldn't have any challenges, but in my opinion, it's hard to even call these challenges, or at least fair challenges. A fair challenge in my book would be something like a tight platforming section that requires pristine execution. The game giving you a huge slope to gain speed on and then chucking you straight into an enemy or obstacle sitting slightly off screen is hardly something I'd call fair. These types of obstacles are like the jump scares of Sonic the Hedgehog. Like when you're watching a horror movie and something abruptly jumps out in front of the screen and makes a loud noise. Like, yeah, of course it's gonna scare the shit out of me. It's abrupt and loud, and I'm also a big baby. But I usually walk away feeling like these types of scares weren't earned. And in my opinion, these types of cheap shots the classic games throw at you don't feel earned either. All this does is lead to frustrating, unassuming players. Now obviously there's a few things you can do to help fix this dilemma. The first is to default to going slow, and I think it goes without saying, but this should hardly ever be the correct answer when it comes to a Sonic game. Gotta go fast and whatnot. But this is often a strategy I find myself doing when I'm in unfamiliar territory, and it doesn't feel good. The second option is to memorize the level layout, which, let's be real, is a huge commitment. Most likely one that the majority of players aren't going to want to do. Your average player is probably only going to run through the game just once. Of course, I do find that the more I play the level, the better I become, as it should be. There should always be room to get better by replaying the levels. It's what makes Sonic games replayable, something that's very important since most of the games tend to be on the shorter side. But memorizing where the cheap shots of the level are shouldn't be required or expected just to have a smoother experience. Look, none of these two options are going to be all that appealing to your average player, so they're most likely going to default to the third option, which is just keeping at least one ring and tanking these cheap shots as they happen. Not the most amazing experience if you ask me, and it's here where I think the 2D games can do better. Now it might seem like I'm absolutely dunking on these games. I assure you this is all just in order to really drive in the point I'm about to make. Most people probably don't find enough issue with this specific problem to completely up and abandon these games. Probably. I pretty much chalked it up to the classic games participating in a bit of trolling. But I do believe that it's to its detriment because, like, it's really annoying. Come on, I can't be the only one that found myself questioning what I was doing with my life after running into this trap almost every single playthrough, even though I know it's coming, right? Trust me, these are all games that I genuinely love. I would never purposely slander them. But because I love them, I gotta point out their flaws in hopes that they can improve. All I'm saying is that there's room for improvement, and luckily the solution is actually extremely simple. An easy solution would be just to slow Sonic down, but you don't have to tell me twice that that solution sucks. Not an acceptable answer here. Another solution would be to change the level design, but that solution also sucks. So to find the real and best solution, one that doesn't compromise the fundamental game design of Sonic the Hedgehog, we need to understand where the issue actually stems from. And I believe the core of this issue comes from the camera. 3D Sonic games solve this issue from the very beginning. Because the camera faces in front of you, you can see everything well before it approaches, giving you ample time to react. It becomes much less reaction and memorization based and more decision and execution based. Now those are skills that you have more control over, especially on a first playthrough. But the 2D games can't just rotate their camera just like that. They're 2D games. So how can we fix this? First, we have to understand that the original Sonic games, 1, 2, CD, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, were all on the Sega Genesis, which only had a screen resolution of 320 by 224 pixels. Not a whole lot of real estate compared to modern video game consoles with 4K resolution output, which is 3840 by 2160 pixels, for the record. Yeah, it's a little bit of a difference, isn't it? Naturally, this means that in order to get as much detail across as possible, you'd need to play a careful balancing act of how zoomed in the camera should be for your game. You want objects to be just big enough to display detail in their sprite art, but not so big that the amount of remaining screen space feels like a cramped college dormitory split between 3 people. To get an idea for how this can go wrong, look no further than the port of Sonic 1 on the Game Boy Advance. This game is borderline unplayable for several reasons, but for the sake of this video, just take a look at how zoomed in the camera is. For reference, the Game Boy Advance had a screen resolution of 224 by 160 pixels, considerably smaller than the Genesis. As you can tell, you can barely see anything in front of Sonic, and it causes players to just crash into essentially everything. Obviously, the original classic games aren't like this, but it just goes to show how having a game so zoomed in can make a difference for the worse. What the Sonic Advance series did, another series of Sonic games on the GBA, was make the character sprites slightly smaller, giving more screen real estate, leading to a wider field of view. In the end, it still ends up being more zoomed in than the originals, just because the resolution of the GBA is so tiny. But it did its best for the hardware that it was on. Much better than Sonic 1 on the GBA. So this got me thinking, what if the classic games made their sprites tinier, similar to the Sonic Advance series? Luckily, there's a great ROM hack created by Marky Jester, made for the original Sonic the Hedgehog that does exactly this. Funnily enough, this ROM hack is called Dick Move Prevention, because as it turns out, having the screen zoomed out like this really helps to telegraph some of the obstacles that would have otherwise been total BS. Are you tired of dick moves in Sonic games? Do you hate that you cannot see things off screen? Are you unable to dodge things without lizard reflexes? Well, fear no more. Sonic 1 featuring a new revolutionary dick move prevention mechanism for all those pesky off-screen annoyances. Wow, this kind of hits the nail on the head for exactly the point I'm trying to make. Now, if you have a pair of eyes, you're probably noticing a glaring issue with this ROM hack. Sonic's sprite kind of looks like shit. Remember, this is all a balancing act between detail and screen space. Since this is at the same internal resolution as the Genesis, this extra screen space comes at the cost of detail. So is this the perfect solution? Probably not. Maybe the solution lies somewhere in between the amount of zoom from the original game and this hack. One that perfectly balances screen space and sprite detail. Now this next one isn't something that I'd actually recommend as a solution, but I thought it was really funny and somewhat relevant to this video. This next hack, by my friend, codename Gamma, is titled Sonic 2, but you can see it all. This hack displays a comically large portion of the map, and I gotta say, it's really interesting to actually be able to see all of the alternate paths. It makes me really appreciate the level design, being able to directly see how intricate it all is. Having the camera this zoomed out makes it so that you can more deliberately choose which paths you want to take, since they're all in sight and you can plan accordingly, instead of having to memorize and study the level layouts over several playthroughs, or by getting lucky and getting shot up to the upper path by complete coincidence. Yeah, that's me. But with this hack, while the issue before was that you couldn't react in time to avoid obstacles, now you can't see them without squinting. Maybe if you played this on like a movie theater screen, then it'd be fine, but I imagine this isn't something most people can do. Again, this is an extremely exaggerated example of the point I'm trying to make, but hey, it still kind of gets the point across, and it's funny. I understand that the classics were on very limited hardware, so they get a bit of a pass, but what about the modern games that still have this issue with the zoomed in camera? Specifically, Sonic 4 Episodes 1 and 2, Sonic Mania, and the collection of classic games in Sonic Origins. Yes, they have widescreen support, which does help, but I still feel like this isn't enough. For the pixel art based games, I'll admit it would be jarring to have some sort of dynamic camera that zoomed in and out depending on the situation. So maybe just having a set increased internal resolution to have an overall wider field of view would be the best solution. But for the 3D games, I think it would be really awesome to actually see some sort of dynamic camera. One that zoomed out as he got faster while also shifting towards the way the player was facing, leaving more room in front of the player to see oncoming obstacles. And when the player slows down, maybe because they're doing some precise platforming or just checking out Sonic's idle animation or something, the camera can zoom in so you can see more of the detail. In short, Sonic, Fix your damn screen. I'm tired of running into shit all the time and don't want to remember the entire stage layout just to not deal with level design jump scares. It isn't 1991 anymore, we have the technology to show more on screen. It would lead to a lot less frustrating moments so that the players can focus on the actual challenges of the game. Like Sandopolis Zone Act 2. That sounds fucking rough. Anyways, that's all I have for this one. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Peace.